The one and only Dr. Carole Lieberman, one of my favorites of all time, the terrorist therapist. Nobody better than her to talk about this. The anti-Semite march that's going on in New York City. I think we should be checking visas and shipping people out. I'm so sick of this crap. Hi, Carole.
Yes, I agree.
It's got to stop. I mean, we have freedom of speech, but then there's also freedom of terrorism and freedom of not being scared to death in your own home and having a parade of people wearing scary Halloween costumes walk down your street and talk about how you should be dead. Come on,
Yes.
man.
Yes. And the problem is that it's going to get a lot worse under Mayor Mamdani.
Well, because he thinks America deserved 9/11, which, by the way, I watched World Trade Center yesterday just to get me all amped up for this because, we got to remember that happened.
Yes, absolutely. And of course, with population growing of people who were born after 9/11, this is going to be harder and harder to for enough people to remember and to understand. Yes, there are protests in. Well, first of all, to go with what you were saying, the First Amendment, yes, is protection of speech, but it does not protect speech. Hate speech or speech that is inciting people to be violent.
Right.
And that's what these protests are. And they try to hide, not that it's better, but they try to say that these are protests against Israel, not against Jews. But, obviously it's the same thing.
Well, they're walking down a Jewish street. They know the Jewish people live there. That's why they picked it.
Exactly. Now, it's interesting. There is this little interesting twist, which is that it's not just about Israel and not just about Jews, but they, in this particular, a couple of recent cases, they have been targeting situations where there is real estate is being sold. Israeli companies are selling real estate, and what they're angry about in particular is that they claim that this real estate doesn't belong to Israel, that it's in the settlements, and which means they claim that this is Palestinian land, which of course is not true because
no such thing.
Before that it was Jewish land, Israel. But that particularly gets them annoyed that this land is being sold. But yes, this is really and I was just reading about something new that happened. About how Mamdani has made this or has gotten millions of dollars, has increased the budget for the hatred, hate crimes, and he's claiming that he did this to protect Jews, but that's not it at all. He's doing it to protect terrorists, so-called. Anti-Islamophobia, so-called crime or hate or fear against terrorists, Islamists. But so they're, he's trying to say, oh, look, I'm doing something about these protests against Jews and against Israel. I mean, he and his family have been so long against Israel and against Jews. It's not like something new that happened just when he became mayor. So he can't, he's not fooling anyone.
Well, they're marching through Brooklyn. And, I mean, Brooklyn isn't all pro, I don't know, whatever these guys are. I don't even know if they're all from the same intifada chanting groups. They've all come together. A lot of them might just be, white college liberals who put scarves on their heads, but they scream and yell that police wear masks, but they're all covered up except for a few of them. But you know what? The people weren't really taking it, Carole. They were coming out of their house with Israel combo USA flags and screaming back at them, and it kind of went crazy. The counter protesters were like, "Where's Sinwar? Where's Nasrallah?" Which I thought was funny, but the only thing the protesters were carrying a big orange sign that said that Israel is baby killers and there's blood libel. Israel's killing children. Well, I'm sorry. What happened on October 7th?
Yes.
Were we good to babies and teenagers and children and, I don't know, anyone?
Yes, and more is coming out about that. More videos and so on about what Hamas did on October 7th about
Horrifying.
raping people and killing them and continuing to rape them. It's just unbelievable. Things that you couldn't even dream up, in your worst nightmare.
Yeah, and they killed
did.
the gays over there, but they were also raping the men, just so you know.
Yes, right. Yes, that they make an exception for that, right?
Hate what you are, yeah. Hate what you are. Anyway, so, but these marches are taking up police time, police effort, where,
Yeah.
I mean, it's not like the crime rate is low in New York. So let's be honest, it could have been better used elsewhere.
Absolutely. Oh, I am so, I was born and bred in New York City, and it just makes me so sad. I mean, every day I start off with the New York Post, and it just makes me so sad to see what is happening to this city. Of course, something just happened, though. He's trying, he ran on the plan to tax the rich. And he's really not as smart as he thinks he is, first of all. But the rich are, and the companies that that create wealth and so on, and that are rich, they are moving out of New York City.
Shocker.
They are planning to. They've already begun, some of them, to move to Texas and Florida and Utah. And Mamdani didn't expect that. That he can only tax the rich if they have some connection to New York City. And so this is has been a surprise that this is happening and is growing. And so he's kind of having to think twice about it.
Well, he's raising the taxes of the people he told everything was going to be free to about 9.8%, and they're all freaking out now saying, we're not paying it. Yes, you are, because you voted for him, and that's what you get, because nothing's free. But I want to get your take on why this is being allowed in the United States of America, because this has nothing to do with the First Amendment. This is a hateful, anti-Semitic march through a Jewish neighborhood with intent to terrorize and intimidate, and nothing less. So why are we allowing it? You are the terrorist therapist. Tell me like I'm 8. Why?
Well, the number one reason is Mamdani. People know that he's going to be on their side, the protesters, the anti-Israel, anti-Jew protesters. So that's why I'm saying it's going to get worse and worse with him as mayor. But it was happening before he came, not to this extent. And why? That's a good question. Why? Trump is trying to get some people out who were part of the protests. People who are here illegally, and including students. Taking away student visas if they're here illegally, or if they do something like this. Finally, the guy, I can't remember his name, but there was the guy who was a student at Columbia, who was a leader of the protest there. He has, some kind of an Arab name.
Yeah.
He was in the news. Trump has been trying to get rid of him and others like him for quite some time. And the problem is, the answer really to your question is that as much as Trump tries to get rid of these people, there are judges in New York and in other places who purposely try to thwart Trump and protect these people. But what I was going to say was this main guy finally, he was before a judge who didn't protect him and didn't agree with. There's no protection. He didn't deserve protection. He was doing something illegal, and so finally, some judge, recognized it and ruled on it. And he was supposed to be deported. I don't know if he has left yet. But,
it takes a minute. It takes a minute. But can you imagine being a little kid who lives in that neighborhood? You'd be afraid to go outside forever.
Yes. These kinds of things, I was thinking about the impact on the kids. These kinds of things just terrorize children. Well, terrorize adults too. But it's something that becomes imprinted on their brain. If they're seeing all this right in their neighborhood, right at their door, essentially, it really makes them afraid to go out in the street, agoraphobia. 2, it makes them, question their religion. Why do people hate us, kind of thing, which makes some people stronger in their religion and makes other people afraid. to practice that religion. But they will never forget this. That is for sure.
Yeah.
So
I love that an elderly man came outside and grabbed off one of their masks, and the
Yes.
guy kind of knocked his head on a tree, and the protester screamed, "It's a free country. He has a right to protest." And the guy said, "Not to hide himself." And then
Yes.
he goes, "I survived Vietnam. What's a little prick like that doing in my neighborhood?"
yes, that was so good.
Loved it.
Notice how they pick on elderly people. They're not even someone with the same strength or the same age, or
that's their
elderly
favorite.
women. Well, I'm sorry, what?
That's their favorite because they know they can win.
Exactly. They're such cowards.
Yep. And I swear, they're the ones screaming and running down someone else's street, and then they're shocked when somebody fights back. Where do you
Yes.
think you are? You're not in a country where people are going to take this lying down. And I'm glad that the Jewish community came out and fought back a little bit. But why do they have to? This should be
Right.
stopped.
Yes, I know. I mean, as a whole, Jews certainly do attack when they are being attacked. But as a whole, we are not, we don't start these things.
Nope.
There has never been a war or a protest or whatever that Jews have started.
Ever. Not even biblically. I
Right.
mean, you can go all the way back. It's always been somebody messing with them. Why are you so messed with as Jewish people? What is the deal?
Because, we're God's chosen people.
I get it, but dang, it's like never ending. It's century after century. Somebody's trying to kill y'all. It's crazy.
Well, that's what makes all the holidays, though.
Yeah, I
Hanukkah,
guess,
Purim, Passover.
Yeah.
We wouldn't have all these holidays unless people were trying to kill us.
I get it. But, when they scream death, death to the IDF, I'm like, they probably have a little red dot on your forehead right now. You should probably shut up. But,
Yeah.
this global intifada thing that they're calling for, I think is a threat. And so when they start screaming things like that, that means they want to take over the world with Sharia law and force everyone to become Muslim because that is their goal. And
yes.
I don't think all Muslims act like these people, but I think they share the same values.
Well, yes, and they're not out there protesting against the terrorists, against the people who are protesting Israel. And
A few
and
have spoken up. A few have spoken up in their credit. A few have, but
yes,
not enough.
Yes, a few, but not enough, exactly. And intifada means uprising. It's an Arabic word that means uprising or rebellion. And there have been two main intifadas in Israel. And so what they're saying with globalize the intifada, they're saying, make it so that there are these wars all over the place against Israelis and against, in other words, it doesn't have to be
Infidels.
the land of Israel,
Yeah.
but Jews, wherever they are. And yes, but that's the bottom line to this, that it really isn't just Israel or Jews. This is the thing that fails to people to understand that everyone who is non-Islamic is in danger. Because, yes, that is the plan for over 1,000 years, not just since 9/11, but for over 1,000 years, to take over the world and to have jihad all over the world. And they're very successul so far in Europe. They have essentially overtaken Europe.
They're
France,
weenies.
England, the UK, Germany, Belgium, Sweden, Switzerland. They're all over the place, and these countries are just losing their culture and losing their also becoming poor because of all these people coming from terrorist countries to drain. To be paid to get Social Security from all of these countries, and America, it's not. You don't really see this in the mainstream media. So Americans are clueless, and they don't realize that this is a plan in America too. And I'm not sure if I've mentioned this before, but when 9/11 happened, and I decided to become the terrorist therapist to help people cope with terrorism and to warn people about terrorists and all that. I didn't know anything about terrorism at the time, And I went to lots of conferences, and I read a lot. And the people who were already experts in terrorism, they said that it's not just going to be through another 9/11 that the terrorists are going to take over. They're going to take over quietly, also gradually, by infiltrating the media, politics, and education. And that is exactly what has been happening since 9/11.
Well, that's exactly what Abraham Lincoln said would happen. So here we are. And
Huh.
I'm almost out of time. He said we'd be
Yes.
destroyed from within, and he wasn't wrong. So
Mm-hmm,
here we
mm-hmm.
are. But I
Yeah.
have 20 seconds left. Please go listen to her podcast, her show, Terrorist Therapist, Dr. Carole Lieberman. But I just want to remind you all of one thing. On 9/11, people died from 87 different countries from around the world. It wasn't just Americans. It wasn't just Jews. That was attack on freedom itself. They hate freedom, and they think that we should be enslaved to them and whatever their idealism is. And it's just not going to happen because we won't let it. Carole, thanks for coming on today. I appreciate you.
My pleasure. Thank you.
I'll talk to you again. Bye-bye.